Welcome to the Total Country Podcast.
Hello, my name's Kevin and thanks for joining me on the Total Country Podcast. This show's guest is U.K. Country sensation Louise Parker. Louise positions her music firmly within the modern country bracket, which is nice because it always allows for some wiggle room in your sound. But as you'll hear in this interview today, she's influenced by much more than just country. Her sound developed organically over some time after spending an extensive amount of time travelling the US. Louise has had several of her singles hit the iTunes UK Country chart, and it's easy to understand why. She writes brilliantly catchy hooks, the production on her records is stellar, and she's got a solid management team behind her thanks in part to Nick Cantwell from the popular Bells and Gals website. I speak to Louise just before the release of her single Lie to Me, an unflinchingly honest record quite unlike anything Louise has ever released. It's attention-grabbing, poignant, but also refreshing. Whilst it's easy to release a summer sing-along, Louise has taken the bold move to go in a different direction. Louise, admittedly, thanks partly due to her time spent in the US, has an unfailing American energy coupled with a self-deprecating British sense of humour, which you'll hear loads of in this interview. So here we go, my interview with Louise Parker. So I have got Louise Parker on the line. Louise, how are you? Okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. Let's get it out of the way. How's lockdown been treating you?
It's been a bit of a mixed bag for me, if I'm honest, because so I work for an NHS hospital by day. I do temporary, what they call bank staff. So I'm sent wherever they need me, reception, admin wise. And so up until about 4 weeks ago, I was working on different wards, or I was in the chemotherapy department for a little bit, just covering some sickness. But since that ended, I've not had another placement come up yet because of the situation. There just isn't a lot going. So it's been quite nice in the way that I've thrown myself into music over the past 4 weeks, thinking that I'm going to get a job the next week. So I just keep doing everything I can every single day. I'm like, quick, I'll get this out of the way, because if I get another placement come up, I'm not going to be as free. So as I said, it's been a real mixed bag for me. Yeah.
Have you found much time, or have you started looking at any writing, or have you just kind of stepped back?
So at the start, I think I was writing about, because we do loads co-writes. There's something about lockdown that has brought everyone out.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Into co-writes, which is great. And at the start, I think I was doing about 2 or 3 a week co-writes.
Yeah.
For someone that, before lockdown had only ever done 2 co-writes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've now done about 10. It's kind of less busy now. I think everyone's kind of slowing down a little bit. It's kind of losing momentum, but I'm still writing solo in my spare time when I need to, for myself, for my emotions, for my release. But me and Amelia Quinn, who is this kind of like bluesy, rocky country, she's got this growl to her voice that makes me feel alive. I adore her. We write a lot. We've written 2 or 3 times together, and it's insane because I don't think you'd ever put us together.
No, I wouldn't. I know Amelia.
That's pop. I'm very country poppy, and she's very bluesy rocky. But we write so well together, and we get on like a house on fire. I didn't know her before lockdown, and now we're best friends. It's amazing.
The amount of people that are going to come out of like this thing being really good friends yet having never met, I think is going to be it's going to be weird.
Yeah, because she's from the Midlands.
Yeah,
and I'm in Essex, so I do a lot more London shows, whereas she obviously plays up Manchester, kind of Leicester way. So we've never crossed paths. Actually, to be fair, we had our first gig together in London. It was part of my UK tour that I had to cancel or postpone. And that was going to be our first gig together that Nick Bells and Gals had arranged. And he was like, I think you'll adore Amelia. And then obviously when that all got cancelled, he was like, well, how about you do a co-write with her instead, because you were supposed to have this gig with her. So I was like, all right, yeah. I listened to her stuff and I was like, I'm not sure. But then when we got chatting, we're so similar. And also we kind of bring out little bits of each other that, like she brings out a little bit of a rocky style in me that I wouldn't have explored before. And I help her remove a lot of words. She is one of those songwriters that jams words in. And
Oh,
then
really?
you can't sing the lines, or you can't breathe, because they're so jam-packed. She's got so much to say, which I love about her. So sometimes I just go in with a little cone. I'm like, yeah, but you don't need that word. This is an important breathing spot. And we nitpick each other's songwriting, which is, it's just really, we're just both so honest and cutthroat, and that really works for us both because we don't feel offended. Yeah.
So how did you get into this whole country music thing? Take me back.
Okay, so I started as an acoustic pop singer-songwriter. I started writing when I was 12 years old, just randomly.
Yeah.
I'll actually tell you, it was a week before my 13th birthday, and I was walking home from secondary school, and I stopped at a road, and in my head I thought, do you stop before you go? And I was like, wow, that'd be a great line for a song. At 12 years old, thinking nothing of it, just went home and wrote this song, which is by far the cheesiest song like in the whole world. I still remember how it goes, but I'm not telling anyone that. Don't tell anyone, okay? That's just between me and you, because I'm not. I know that my fans would be like, sing it. But I can't.
I won't ask you to do it. I
cannot subject myself to that. What was it called? I think it was called Bye Bye Baby. Was the actual title of it. But yeah, so 12 years old, I just went home and wrote this song.
I'm pretty sure there's already a song called Bye Bye Baby, so I don't think you can have it.
But I think theirs was a lot better than mine, so it's fine. They can keep it. But yeah, so I just carried on writing just for fun. And then, at 12 years old, I was like, well, this is it. I'm now going to be a singer. My mind was made up. Yeah, obviously that's all it took. I was like, well, now I'm going to be a singer-songwriter because I've done it. And so I got my guitar for my 16th birthday. So it's 11 years ago. I got my first guitar and just carried on writing. Went to college, got a popular music BTEC degree.
Nice.
Went to university, got a commercial music diploma. And I was, as I said, still very pop. Actually, I started off in an emo Paramore band.
Yes,
I had a bright pink fringe. I had, one of my ears was stretched to 6 millimeters. I really wanted my lip pierced at the time, but I never got it done. I'm so glad I didn't. But I did get my nose done instead, but that was more when I went into the country thing. Nice. Casey Musgraves.
Yeah, good.
Wanted to be just like her. But so from that kind of like Paramore, You Me at 6 kind of style, I went into pop, because that's what I was raised on. I was raised on the top 40 and people like that, and I adore that. And I still, when I write, you can hear it, I'm so cheesy in my writing, but I love it because that's what's real to me. But upon graduating university, I went to America to tour the first time for 3 months. And that was the first time I went to Nashville and played at the Bluebird. And it was also my first visit to Austin, Texas. And I kind of immersed myself in the country culture. I, met the songwriters, and I got to hear people sing, and the fans and the outfits. I know it sounds silly, but there's nothing better than tassels and boots. They're just so fun.
Nice.
And I remember thinking to myself, I'd love to be a country musician one day, but I'm not the kind of person that will ever force myself in a box. I don't really like barriers, and I don't like labels, because I just think that, it's just not the way the world works. You shouldn't have to label someone or put someone in a box. But I came home from America, and I wrote The Lemon Tree, which is the title of my second EP. And that was kind of the start of my country coming in. It just happened. It just evolved. Naturally, my writing went that way. I don't always write country. Sometimes I wrote a song with, I don't know if you know Becky Lawrence.
Yeah.
I wrote a song with Becky Lawrence the other day, and it is infinitely pop, down to the ground. Like, you can sing it with a little country tone, or obviously you add a slide guitar in. It's country. But I do tend to write more country, but sometimes I am more, folky bluesy if I write with Amelia, or I am a little bit more cheesy pop if I'm writing, say, with Becky Lawrence. And I love it. I love exploring it, but I adore being a country or modern country pop singer-songwriter. So,
how long were you in the US?
The first time, 3 months.
Yeah.
I then went back the following year, I think it was, or the year, it's all merging into one. It is nearly, where are we? 2020, and I went in 2014 first time. So almost 6 years ago, the first time I went. And then I think the following year I went back just for a couple of weeks. I went to Nashville, went to Chicago, just did some singing. And then I think it was 2 years later, I moved to Nashville for 5 months. And I spent the other month in Austin, Texas. And then last year, I moved back out to Austin, Texas for 4 months.
Oh, wow.
So on and off, I've kind of lived in America for just over a year.
So what do you think your experience is of actually, 5 months is enough to say you've properly lived there for a certain amount of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think that's added to your songwriting? Obviously, because it's a very different environment, isn't it?
100%. So I think my experiences are a little tainted. Not that I don't love it, don't get me wrong, but there is a good but here, I promise. I moved out there knowing people. I knew singers, I knew songwriters, and I knew promoters. And they'd all kind of dangled this dream in front of me. If you move out here, we'll give you gigs. If you move out here, we'll co-write with you, or we'll help you along. And then when I did actually move out there, they disappeared.
Oh, wow, okay.
So the promoters did give me a gig. In fact, I got 2 gigs from this guy that said he'd give me a gig weekly. He gave me 2 gigs in the 5-month period I was there. And so that was very disheartening for me. And it took real confidence out of me. And I had to take a step back and say, is this what I really want? Because it was incredibly isolating. I didn't know that many people.
Yeah.
And most of them didn't stick around. I had a few friends, but they were obviously busy with their lives, working and doing their own thing, that they couldn't obviously be around for me all the time. But I'd say at the end of the 5 months is when I actually found my little niche, my little crowd. Because I started doing open mic nights 3 or 4 times a week, just trying to get myself out there still, just trying to meet people.
Yeah.
And by the end of the 5 months, I'd found my crowd. Like people, the people that, you all go to, because you all go to the same open mic nights. You see each other 3-4 times a week. You build up a little, and you see them doing well. And one of my friends, Aaron Shilb, I always can't pronounce his surname. I think it's Aaron Shilb. Anyway, I met him on the open mic night circuit, and nearing the end, he'd been given his own slot, like an open mic night writers round slot.
Yeah.
At this bar, which is incredible to go from like open mic nights to that in the space of like a couple of months.
Yeah.
And so he started putting me on regularly. So it was kind of a shame at the end that I'd kind of found my crowd and I was just leaving. But I came out stronger from it, because I think an experience like that is either going to be enough to, to put your hands up and say, well, maybe this is not the life for me.
Yeah.
Or you've got to go through it and be like, okay, well, this is not what I expected, but is what has happened, and this is it. And I wrote some fantastic songs being so alone.
Yeah. Oh no.
Like, it sounds dreadful, but I did. And I don't really spend a lot of time by myself. I don't like spending a lot of time by myself. You kind of get left alone with your own thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying. So I did actually have to sit down, and have to deal with a lot of demons that I didn't necessarily know I even had. But it gave me that time to work through a few things.
Nice. So we talked about it before the recording, and you actually ended up getting goosebumps. So you've played the Bluebird. I don't need to explain what the Bluebird is to anyone. Twice now. So
yes,
talk to me about your experience of there.
So the first time I played the open mic night at the Bluebird was the very first time I was in America. And I don't think I really, not that I didn't understand, but because I wasn't quite a country artist yet. I'd heard of the Bluebird, but I didn't really understand how much of it's like the church of country music it is almost. Like the miniature church, because obviously you've got the old, Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman, but it is a real stomping ground for so many artists. And so the first time I played there, I don't think I really realised that. Me and my friend that I was out touring with, we just showed up 3 hours early and stood in a queue and we managed to get in. And that was the way it worked 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the second time I played there, it was when I was living out there back in 2018. It was kind of the end of 1 year, start of another for the 5 months. And I called. This time you had to ring them up and say, I want to play. And there's actually a screenshot somewhere on my social media from 3 years ago. I think I called 163 times.
Wow.
Eventually got through, got on the list. But that time I took nothing for granted. Like, I showed up, I took all of the photos outside, like I'd curled my hair into like Cam corkscrew curls, blonde, shaking with all this anticipation and nervousness. I mean, I do that before every gig anyway. I mean, especially at the Bluebird, and I got up on stage and I just lived it. It's absolute goosebumps. I love it.
Nice. Anyone that follows you on social media knows you have probably the best relationship I've ever seen with your manager, Nick. We'll go with best.
Dish all the dirt on him now, yeah.
Who, if anyone doesn't know, runs Bells and Gals, which is such a good website about female country. When I was just starting to get into country, I always used to go there. Such a hive of information, isn't it?
Yeah. They're breaking out a little bit now. They're doing a bit of male artists as well, because they don't want to be sexist. Even though obviously females do need encouragement in this industry, because it is a very male-heavy industry, they're still trying to be a bit fair to the men artists as well.
Okay.
So they're doing some different things like Spotify playlists, which is great.
Yeah.
I can't commend them enough.
So on social media, you're almost like a comedy double act.
Don't tell him that. His head will get so big. I am the funny one out of the two of us.
But how does it feel being such I assume good friends with your manager. So, but I imagine it brings out confidence in each of you to share ideas and things which you perhaps wouldn't have.
Yeah, it's funny because when we go to gigs, everyone presumes he's my dad.
Oh, that's awkward.
Which absolutely cracks me up every time. Because I'm always like, oh, Nick, you would have been like, late 20s if I was your child. But he thinks it's thrilling. We do have an incredible relationship. So Nick isn't the first person to come along to offer me a contract, but it's the first person to come along that I actually signed.
Okay.
And it wasn't even, he didn't even have to talk me into it. I barely even read the contract. I know that's really bad. Don't judge me. But I barely even read the contract when he put it in front of me, because in my gut, I was like, this is right.
Yeah.
We don't know each other 100% yet, but this is right. And I knew it straight from the get-go. But I am lucky. I tell him everything, like absolutely everything. Even non-music related stuff. We go through a lot. I'm fortunate because at the start of the year, he also brought Sam, who is one of the Bells and Gals managers as well, onto my team.
Okay.
So now I
go to two people.
Yes, now I've got two people, which is great, because I always I joke that he deals with my old side. He does the press, the press and the radio and the podcasts and things like that. He deals with the old side of music. And Sam, who's my age, deals with my new side. So she helps with my social media and my digital marketing, videos, photos, all kind of that stuff. So together as a team, we work so well. But also it's great because now I've got Sam. I think Nick is slightly relieved I don't have to go to him for boy drama. So now I just message Sam about all my boy drama. And, if I need, a female perspective, it's so nice to have Sam there as well. But we make such a good team. It is so easy. Like, when it works, it really works. I'm so fortunate that I've just kind of fallen into this situation. Yeah. Good.
So let's talk about your recent duet with Joey Clarkson.
Yes.
Massive fan of her. She's incredible. That's such a great record. Your voice is on the same recording. Love that. How did that song come about?
So, I think she'd put out a tweet on Twitter asking for people to co-write with. And this was back in February. And I think Nick had tagged me in the tweet saying, Louise, are you interested in this? And I'd not heard much about Joe. I think we followed each other, but it's one of those things that I'm supportive of all artists, and I don't even, we might not know each other, but I'm still going to share your music because that's what the industry is about. And so I just was like, yeah, let's do it. I think she personally, messaged me and said, are you free next week? And I was like, why not? jumped on a train into London to meet her the following week. Didn't actually know she was Canadian until I got there.
Oh, that's a shocker.
And I was like, well, I only just told her, I think 2 weeks ago, we did an interview together. And I said to her, look, I've actually got something to admit. I didn't know you were Canadian until I met you. And I was like, I didn't want to bring it up because I thought it'd be embarrassing, because I should have done my research. But where I was working so much at the time in the hospital, we just, just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
So I'd listen to her music, but who hasn't got an American accent, even if you're from England, with some country songs? So I just didn't think anything of it. But yeah, so this was literally just before lockdown. I'm talking like end of February, beginning of March, like on the cusp, basically. So we met up. The first 2 hours we just spent talking about our lives and eating cake. You know that cake you get from IKEA, like the Dame Bar one?
Oh, yeah. That's good.
She had a slice of that, and so she'd shared it, and we ate cake together. And her dog Whiskey is the absolute love of my life. I adore him. So I'm just playing with her dog, and we're just gossiping for about 2 hours. And then she sits down and she says, so do you want to write a song then?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, all right then. Yeah, why not? It was just so easy. It's just when you meet people like that where the conversation just flows and you get on so well. And originally, because obviously the news was out about the coronavirus, but we weren't really sure where we were at the time. We wanted to write a song about that kind of mass confusion and how scary it is. And it was and it is. But when we sat down, we had these couple of lines in our head, and obviously it didn't turn out to be that coronavirus song. It was still quite like female empowering.
Yeah.
Being the person to say, I like you, let's go home, but not, to do the deed. Let's go home and have a conversation. Let's talk about aliens. And I'm one of those people, I'm introverted in the way that I don't like shallow small talk, shallow conversations. The weather and how are you doing? And that's not me. I'm an introvert in the way that if I go to a party and there's going to be small talk like that, I'd rather play with the dog.
Yeah, cut the crap.
Yeah, basically. And that's why that kind of all came about, because it was, tell me about what's going on inside. Let's talk about aliens and religion and science. Let's stay up all night and have this conversation and learn about each other's likes and dislikes. And so the song kind of stemmed from that. And then obviously it all hit the fan. Yeah. And I was then working double shifts in the hospital. Didn't even give it a second thought because I was just like off my feet. And then she messaged me one day, and I'm sitting in the hospital atrium on my 10-minute break of one of my 10-hour shifts I was working. And she was like, I really want to record the song. Did you want to do it as a duet, or shall I record it solo? And I was just like, let's duet it. I was like, let's just do it. I was like, I've only got 10 minutes, but let's just do it. And so I said yes. And then within a couple of weeks, she Joey really took control. I'm so fortunate for that because of where I was at and what I was dealing with. I didn't have any time to take control, but she was literally like, this is my producer. His name is Ryan. He's fantastic. He is. She's not just saying that. Ryan is fantastic. And, this is what we want. This is how I think it should be. Louise, you're singing these bits. And I just had to set my microphone up and do it. And then she was like, this is what we can do for promo. What do you think? And I was like, great. So I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky in the way that she completely took control of it. And I couldn't be prouder of the song. It is everything I wanted it to be.
Good. You mentioned that you'd not really co-written much before. So this must be one of the first times. Do you think that's helped with your trust in people for future co-writes? Because obviously it's a very wear your heart on the sleeve process, isn't it, a co-write?
It is.
So it must be quite daunting the first few times.
100%, especially with someone for the first time.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of first-time co-writes, obviously, since lockdown started, because you don't know the other person's process. So the way that I sit down and write a song isn't always the way that someone else sits down to write a song. So, for example, I did a co-write with Vic Allen, who I love. I love Vic Allen, and I love the way she writes, and I love she's so sweet.
Yeah.
I just love her. And we sat down to do a co-write, and I was like, oh, so how do you do it? And she always starts with the choruses.
Okay.
She writes the chorus first, and then she works backwards. which
Nice.
I'd never done before. I always just sit down and write a verse and then just go forwards, like
Yeah.
a song, and you just make it up as you go along. And that was really interesting to me. And you know what? It works really well. For the song that we wrote, it gave us a whole storyline that I don't think we would have come up with had we not started with that chorus.
Yeah.
So it was fascinating and eye-opening to me. And I've never just sit myself down and be like, all right, that's a verse. I'm now in the way that I'm like, well, maybe I'll start with a chorus, see where this goes. But it is daunting because, as you said, it's like part of my soul. I'm giving away part of my soul to people. And when you don't know them, it is, I can feel a little bit shy at first. But then when you do find the people like the Joeys and the Amelias who you really bond with, that's why I've written with Amelia Quinn 2, 3, 4 times. She's even written a song for me.
Wow.
Well, I called her one day when I was really upset about something, and I told her the situation, what I was going through. And when I get really emotional, I can't write. Like, I'm too close to the subject.
Yeah.
I can't sit down and put it down because it's too in my face. And the next day she calls me and she's like, I've written you a song about what you're going through. And she gave it to me. She's like, this isn't my style at all. This is now your song. And she's given me the song.
Wow.
It helped me in the way that, because everything she'd written down was the truth. It's exactly what I said to her on the phone. But obviously she's written it in third person, like she's talking to me. So when I sing it and I sing it in third person, it's easier for me to kind of,
deal with it.
Process it, because I'm not singing in first person. I'm singing like it's almost for someone else, but it is mine. And I've played it live and I love it. Like, I've done it on my live streams. And every time I'm like Amelia Quinn, absolute legend.
So, on top of being very busy, you've managed to get your own single out. Now, I want to nerd on this one quite a lot.
Okay, I'm ready. I'll nerd with you.
It's called Lie to Me. For me personally, 100% the best record you've put out.
I'm so glad. This could have gone completely different.
Love the start. Who does 15 seconds of pure a cappella on a country record? I
do.
So the way I've written some notes here for myself to just describe how I thought of it. So I've put feels familiar but different. Like,
okay.
I mean, it takes 2 minutes for the song to build before it actually starts going, and then you start chucking in some guitar. Talk to me about it. Talk to me about it.
Where do you want to start? So I wrote this song April last year. I was in this situation where I was unhappy, but I wasn't quite sure how to fix it. And I am a fixer, like, as a person in my life. I like helping people. It's the reason I got into songwriting. It's the reason I keep songwriting, is because I like helping people and relating to people and connecting with people.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this song when I was in a place where I didn't know how to fix the situation I was in. And I think in this day and age where we've got information at our fingertips, people sometimes forget that all a human being needs to hear is that everything's going to be all right. And that's me. I'm not very materialistic. Like, I'm not going to turn down flowers. Don't get me wrong. But I just need a hug.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all I need. I need people, or not people, but I need, that special person to tell me that I'm beautiful and that I'm loved and make me feel safe and secure.
Affirmation,
exactly. That's something that I need. I'm a bit of an attention seeker. I don't know if it comes across. But yeah, and I wasn't getting that, and I didn't know how to fix this situation I was in where, you can't make the other person feel a certain way.
Yeah.
When you want them to so badly. And so I wrote it again, put it down, put it away. And then this actual situation that I wrote it about all kind of came to a head a year later. So April this year, the situation all kind of came to a head. And by that point, I'd already recorded this song and said that I was going to put it out. And so it's reliving it every time I sing it, like recording it, I'm reliving it, singing it in a live stream, I'm crying because the breakup only happened in April this year. So it's been a really painful time, but it's real.
Yeah.
And that's where the a cappella intro came from, because I sat down with my producer it wasn't always like that. We had all the instruments in it, with a bit of piano, because it's very piano driven, this song.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I was like, I don't want instruments in it. Not for the first 15 seconds, the first half of that chorus.
Yeah.
Because the lyrics need to speak for themselves. And I often find with produced band recordings, sometimes your lyrics can get a bit lost.
Yeah.
And that's why last year I only released acoustic tracks, because I wanted them to be about the stories that I was telling.
Yeah.
And so this year I knew that I wanted to do produced tracks, but I wanted to still keep that very much alive. It is the stories and it is the emotion behind it. And for me, it is about the lyrics. And that's why the whole song, I started off a cappella, because I wanted people to feel that pain, the pain that I am going through. And I'm just very lucky. I'm very fortunate. I've got a lot of talented friends that all wanted to get involved, and it became something that I'm so proud of.
Yeah, it's incredible. I don't write all my questions down word for word, but I do write ones I want to pull out. And I'm so glad you've just said that, because for me, when I was listening to it, or when I've listened to it a few times, I felt for me that in the mix, it sounds like, you get some country songs where the production takes over. So the vocal kind of feels like it sits back.
Yeah.
But on yours, it almost feels like the band's in the background. Is that intentional? It feels like your vocal is really at the front of the mix.
Yeah. Well, it comes back to the attention seeker. No, I'm just messing.
Turn them down.
Yeah. I'm like, come on now. You may be a drummer, but you know that this here is the moneymaker. Come on. No. It is not on the attention seeker purpose, but it is on purpose because of that. Because I am a lyricist first and foremost. That is what I do. And I know that I do it, I'd say, to quite a good standard without being too big-headed. I do write some pretty good lyrics, not all the time. Obviously, I mean, Bye Bye Baby is not coming out anytime soon, all right? But yeah, that was on purpose, because I wanted people to still be able to hear the stories behind it and the lyrics and to connect to people and relate, like I was saying, Yeah.
It's raw, that song, isn't it? That's how I describe it. Well recorded, but
painful.
Vulnerable. It's vulnerable.
So vulnerable. I'm quite an enthusiastic and optimistic person. I think that'd be putting it lightly. But every now and then I record a song that is very deep and very personal. Not all the time. Like, a lot of my very deep and personal songs, I write them for me, and they're too painful to put out, so I hold them back. And had it not been for Nick, I have, at this current stage, I've got about 30 songs that I've written, but haven't actually got around to recording yet. And so I've got a shared folder with Nick and Sam, and every time I write a song, I upload it, they listen to it. And that's what happened with Lie to Me. I'd written it, I'd uploaded it, and he listened to it, and he was like, Louise, this is the song that's going to do things for your career. And at first I was not convinced. It took me about 6 months. I was like, Nick, I can't record it. It's so personal. Like, it's too much. It's too deep. It's, people want upbeat and happy songs. They don't want to be miserable all the time. Apparently people do. No. But he said to me, he was like, Louise, like, country music is built off of miserable stories, of people's suffering and people's pain, and and blossomed into what it is now. And so he was actually the driving force behind me recording Lie to Me. If not, I don't think I'd ever put it out, because I do prefer to put the upbeat, sassy ones out.
It's easy to hide behind those, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, I do. I'm very good at hiding behind humour. It's kind of my specialty. I don't know if you could tell, Kevin.
I've got an opinion, which I'm gonna keep this in, that this might be controversial, that female songwriters across all genres, I think they write so much better than men. Like, if you look at country, let's go recent, to Neil Towns, Ashley McBride. If you want to go old school, go back Amy Winehouse. If you want to go older, Janis Joplin, Carole King,
Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, I think the way they write, like, they've got an honesty, or I don't know, maybe it's a simplicity, but not in a negative way, that I don't think many male songwriters pull out. And I don't know why, and I can't put my finger on it, but go women.
I think so too. I can, like, 100%. I think there are, like, a select few male songwriters who do it really,
Oh no, 100%.
really well.
Yeah.
But then I still think that they have female co-writers.
Mm.
So they might write a song, but then a woman comes back and, nitpicks it, which I think is important. I think we should do that both sexes. I should get my songs looked over by a man because it's a completely different point of view, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I do think it comes with the whole women find it easier to talk, which it shouldn't be at all. Obviously, it shouldn't be like that. Men should be able to feel like they can talk as freely as women can. I'm 100% here, like, men's mental health movement.
Yeah.
But I do think it stems from that a little bit, that men find it difficult to write down their feelings because they think they're going to get ridiculed, which is a real shame. But I do think that obviously then blossoms for female songwriters. So, yeah, tough. That's a tough one. Yeah.
Tough. Let's talk about your songwriting process.
Okay.
Do you have one? Are you impulsive? Or you sit down and make yourself write?
I do a bit of everything.
Okay.
So some songs I dream about.
Okay.
Like I'll dream about them and, I'll either wake up and I'll just like take down a couple of notes or a voice recording really quietly in bed.
Yeah.
And then wake up the next morning. It usually sounds terrible, but not all the time. Actually, I've written some pretty good songs in my sleep, and sometimes I just roll over and forget that I'm devastated in the morning. If it's been a couple of weeks, because sometimes I store things like emotions. I store it all up. I fuel my hate fire with some real aggressiveness, and so sometimes I have to force myself to sit down, because if not, I explode like an emotional volcano. So sometimes I do have to force myself to sit down and just put something down, even though I know it's not going to be or might not be any good. I just just put some words down on a bit of paper. Sometimes it's poetry. It doesn't even have to be formed. I just put something down. 9 times out of 10, my most recent kind of form of writing is my phone notes. So I'm always out and about, and I'm always thinking of things. And so I'll show you. I have a whole note section on my phone just full of one-liners. Just bits I've come up with, whether that be like in the middle of the night. Can you see this? Take a look.
So people obviously can't see this, but I'm going to explain it. So you're scrolling through. There is paragraphs and loads. Yeah, loads.
Just one-liners I just come up with, and then sometimes if I find a nice little guitar chord sequence I like, or I've got like a little melodic riff in my head, I'll just sit down and I'll find something, like I'll scroll through all those little bits of notes, and I just write something, and I just go for it. So really, I really depend on my mood, I guess. Yeah.
Who are your inspirations?
Oh, that's a good question. So, at the moment, because they do change quite regularly, someone that's been my inspiration since the start of my country career, Shania Twain.
Okay.
Down to the ground. I freaking love Shania Twain. I read somewhere, I don't know if you know this is completely off point, but I read somewhere that she is rated as the sexiest female country artist, and she's never taken her clothes off.
Oh,
isn't that crazy? Like,
that's
crazy.
Obviously
I know that she's worn, like in that Don't Impress Me, like she had that leopard get up, which was like a little crop toppy.
Yeah.
But still, she's never been overly sexual.
Yeah, no, she hasn't. No, you're right.
But she's rated as the sexiest woman in country. Doesn't that blow your mind? That's completely off the point. Shania Twain, I adore her. She's just sassy. And could you imagine having songs like that? Don't Impress Me Much. And Man, I Feel Like a Woman. And Still the One. And that's 3 incredible songs that are all hers. Could you imagine just having one of those songs? But yeah, so I love everything about her, just even down to the ground, her personality. I got to see her live 2018.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the best shows I've ever been to. I cried multiple times. She is just incredible, and she's so sweet. She's so grateful. She is so down to earth, and she looks banging for 50 odd. Oh my goodness, I hope I look like her at 30. No, 50. Mate, I don't know what she's doing, but I need her regime. Anyway,
she lives on some she lives in a really random country, doesn't she? She lives in like Switzerland on a farm. Yeah. Somewhere random.
I thought she was in Canada.
No. Have a look after this. She lives somewhere really strange.
That's probably tax evasion for you.
I think it might be.
Anyway, so I mean, not that I'm dissing Shania Twain until you go, girlfriend. But back to songwriters. So Taylor Swift was one of the main reasons I wanted a guitar for my 16th birthday. I've always loved Taylor Swift. You can say every bad word you want to say about her and it will never change my opinion. I think she is fantastic. Also, I write loads of songs about my ex-boyfriends. So, just like her, I always, when I first got into country, I joked to people that I was Taylor Swifting in my life.
Trying to make it
all of my songs
trying to
are
make
about
it a phrase.
Yeah, well, all of my songs are about my ex-boyfriends or my current boyfriends or the boys I wish were my boyfriends. So I'm like, I'll be honest with it. And up front, I'm like, why not? That's what makes the song so real. But I adore Taylor Swift. And then most recently, Dixie Chicks. I know I'm late.
Nice.
I know I'm super late to the party, but I've only recently discovered them. Still very new to country music.
Where have you been?
Not in country. I've only been in country for like 2 years. So I've only been doing country music for 2 years. So I'm still relatively new.
Okay.
I've just kind of discovered them at the start of this year, which I know, please don't be disappointed. Yeah, this is when you just like
6
end
months.
the interview. You're like, nope, done with her. Yeah, so I've only been listening to them for 6 months and
Wow.
I can't stop.
No.
Like, I'm addicted. And everything they put out is a tune. And
Yeah.
the lyrics are so fresh and every song is different but the same. And oh my goodness, it's just unfair. The amount of talent that they have in their little fingers.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, my songwriting has been really influenced by them and their sassiness recently. I'm loving it.
That sassiness has got them in a lot of trouble and half damaged their career. But
Yeah, and I think why not?
yeah.
If you've got something to say it and stick by it.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, I'm proud of them. But
bearing in mind, well, let's reword that. Knowing how supportive the UK country scene is for live performances, how much do you miss in performing live?
I am, obviously, quite a bit. However, I love live streams.
Do you?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, they're both incredibly different.
Yeah.
Obviously, the actual performing side of it
Yeah.
is exactly the same. But they both bring different things to the table, which I now can't imagine seeing myself never live streaming again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Why so?
For live gigs, you have that interaction, like people clapping at the end of a song.
Yeah.
I always say it's like a transaction. You'd never go into a clothes shop and just take an item of clothing without paying for it. It's a transaction.
Yeah.
I'm giving you part of my soul. Clap for me. So, like, obviously, I do miss that interaction and just seeing people and give them hugs and, you know, talking to them at the merch table and signing bits of paper, which, by the way, I think I'm more excited about signing a bit of paper than the actual person that wants the experience. Like, it will never get old for me. And so, of course, I miss that. I really do. However, with live streams, there's a constant communication going on in the comments, which obviously you don't get in a live gig because people don't want to talk because they're listening. Whereas obviously you get an interaction in the way that obviously I finish a song and then yes, it's really awkward because no one's clapping and then I fill the space with talking because that's what I do. But you've got people asking questions and requesting songs.
Yeah.
And, you know, talking about rubbish, which I really love. And they're saying hello to each other and they know each other. You know, it's really nice in that way that there's always a constant kind of like back and forth between us. And the tip jars are fantastic for artists, which obviously you don't have at live gigs.
Yeah.
So, not in England anyway.
Put a hat out at the front.
Yeah,
just
I
see
know.
how you get
imagine?
on. Like, what is that?
So the things like the tip jars for artists to carry on creating music is fantastic. And also the fact that I can, you know, I come into my spare room 15 minutes before a gig starts in my pajama bottoms and no one knows. And then obviously I do my hour set, which by the way, I don't know if I could ever go back to doing less than an hour now because I'm so good at filling the time with talking and singing. You know, I finish my set and I go downstairs and my mum, because obviously my mum and dad always watch, and so they clap. I come down the stairs and they clap as I'm walking down the stairs, like we're at a gig. And then I'm like, so mum, what's for dinner?
Nice.
Can't do that at a live gig.
No.
Obviously, like, you've got the stress of, like, if it's in London, travelling into London, and then you've got to travel home and you don't eat properly. I don't eat properly because I get super nervous. So, and you get home and you're shattered, and I do gigs in, barely any makeup and hair like this, which, by the way, I curled 3 days ago, and it's I haven't brushed it, which is why it looks like this. I couldn't show up and do that at a gig. People can see the back of my head. They'll know that I haven't bothered, So I think live streams are really beautiful in that way, that they're very natural almost.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be able to bring some of these elements that you've taken, maybe the confidence and chat from the live stream, and put it onto a stage?
I thought you were going to say, and the pajamas.
You are going to have to go back.
Yeah, no, of course, no. I can't wait. I can't wait to get back into live gigging again. I do. I really miss it. But there are things that I hope will cross over, like the chat in between songs. Like, I've always been pretty good at chatting, but even more so. Or even like sometimes I'm doing a live stream, and if I mess up a lyric, I just stop and I'm like, well, that was wrong. Whereas if it's a live gig, like, I'll just carry on and pretend. Yeah. Whereas sometimes I think it's better to actually be more natural and be human and be like, you know what? I messed up, guys. That's on me. Let me go back. But yeah, I really hope that's something that I can cross over. But I'm still going to do live streams, 100%, even if it's just like once a month, because I get to connect with my American fans.
Yeah. Oh, okay, of course. Yeah.
And I've got one of my biggest fans lives in Norway. And she can't come over here to see me gig. She wants me to come to Norway. She's got her own hashtag. It says Louise Parker to Norway. If you go on Twitter, that she's got her own hashtag.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I'm definitely gonna still do live streams.
Do you have a plan of where you see your career going? Like, is it quite planned, or are you take each day as it comes?
This is where Nick and Sam come in quite heavily.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm just like, I want to go up.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get there or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I would like to do this full time, all over the world, meeting as many people as possible. And so this is where Nick and Sam come in quite heavily, because they've got it planned out for me. So the run up to the release of my single today has been absolutely insane. So like this week alone, I've had 3 interviews, and it's got to the point where Nick has to send me a text message the morning of to remind me what I'm doing. Which is insane. Like, I never thought I'd get to a place where I would trust someone so much with my heart, because that's what music is to me. Music is my heart. It's my children, like the songs are my children. And I never thought I'd get to a place where I trusted someone, because I'm very protective of my music. And so to have two people that literally run my life for me and remind me when I need to schedule a post, or I've got an interview, or, X, Y, and Z is happening, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
We have got, I believe, we've got at least 2 months in advance worth of plans.
Okay.
Whether that be live stream, performances booked, or like my newsletter that I have, my mailing list subscribers comes out once a month. We've got plans in place for that, and some other things I can't tell you about, but I'm super excited. I was like, no, I can't.
Okay, don't get in trouble.
What?
Don't get in trouble.
No, I'm gonna tell you, right? Just an exclusive, right? But don't tell anyone. Well, you know what I mean. So I've got some exclusive merch.
Nice.
Coming out in the next couple of weeks. to do with Lie to Me.
Nice.
Limited edition. That's all I can say.
Watch this space.
Nick is going to kill me.
Space.
It's fine. I'll make it up to. I'll send him a really good dad joke or something.
Nice. Let's finish on some lighter ones, and I think this one's got quite serious.
I know, sorry.
No, it's fine. I asked the questions. It's fine. You answer them. It's all good. It's all good. If I didn't ask them and it got serious, then you would have taken it down a really dark route.
Yeah, I mean, we can go darker if you want.
No, it's all right. I feel like for a first chat, we've gone places.
I feel like me and you are best friends now.
Louise is crossing her fingers.
Yeah. Well, you're wearing an excellent cat t-shirt.
I am. Hang on, I'm going to show you this cat t-shirt, and then you're going to have to describe it. Have you seen this top?
No, has it got something in the pocket?
Yeah.
What does it say? Okay, so for those of you that can't see, Kevin is styling Would you say it's grey? Is it grey?
It's grey, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's a grey t-shirt, and it's got a frocket. For those of you who don't know what that is a front pocket, a frocket. With a cat. You can just see the cat's head poking out the top, and then when you pull down the pocket, it's giving you the middle finger.
Yeah.
Which is excellent. And to be fair, when we first started this interview, I saw it and I thought, this is my kind of guy. And now I approve even more.
There we go.
Now I know what's inside your frocket, Kevin.
The best one's when people don't know that you just kind of lean over if you're out and they just see it.
I used to have, I don't know if I've got it anymore, but I used to have this t-shirt and on the front it said, ask me about my dinosaur. And then when people asked you about it, you turned it inside out. So you're like flashing them and there's a dinosaur underneath.
Nice.
I don't think I've got it anymore. But
the best reaction to that would be just complete confusion. Be like, what? So sorry.
Well, that's the whole idea. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm sorry, we're going totally off track again. But I got a new sweater recently. And it's got a little embroidered cacti.
Nice.
It's just here, like really small, so you wouldn't be able to see it unless you're quite close.
Yeah.
And at the top it just says, "Don't be a prick."
That's pretty good. That is pretty good.
And it cracks me up because I just feel like I'm going around insulting people and they don't know. And I'm fine with that. I'm so passive aggressive.
If you can only eat one meal for the rest of your life.
Okay. So. This is hard because I've got a favourite meal, but I don't know if I could eat it for the rest of my life and it still be my favourite meal. So I'll tell you my favourite meal.
Okay, you can have death row meal or whatever the PC version of that would be.
Wow. Talk about getting deep here, Kevin. You took it down. My mum makes the best roast dinners. And I know that is probably the most British thing you'll hear ever.
Classic answer.
Yeah. So that is my favourite meal because she makes roast potatoes that are out of this world.
Okay.
And they are my absolute favourite. Now, I don't eat anything with a face, so usually I just have like roast potatoes and vegetables, which is fine by me because it's still my favourite meal.
Yeah.
So the roast potato, they just make it, you know? Come round one day. I'll get my mum to make you roast potatoes, or I'll bring them to you. We'll figure something out.
Nice.
So if it was like, death row meal, it'd be my mum's roast dinner. But I'm a huge pudding, cake, chocolate person.
Okay.
I've got the sweetest tooth you'll ever meet. And it's great because I don't put weight on.
Nice.
I'm really living that life of a 26-year-old, you know. Everyone keeps saying to me, one day I'll catch up with you. And I'm like, well, until then.
I'll keep going.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, right now I've got a real thing for cornettos, like chocolate and hazelnut cornettos, which is so random.
That's so 20 years ago as well.
I know.
Isn't it?
And Viennetta. I love just the
Viennetta.
plain Viennetta.
I could talk all day about Viennetta. Have you seen the video of how a Viennetta's made? I'm going to have to cut this bit, but have you seen the video of how a Viennetta's made?
No! Oh my God, send it to me.
After, I will send it to you. It's the best thing in the world. You've got to watch the specific video of the Viennetta being made because it's got really crap trance music with it. And like, the portions are cut with the video. I'm going to have to send it to you.
Send it to me. I really want to, because I've never thought about it. And now you've mentioned it, and I can't stop thinking about how it's made.
Yeah, the fact they're still made is incredible. Anyway, favourite drink, last drink, alcoholic, non-alcoholic. I don't mind.
Okay. If it was non-alcoholic, that's so hard. I'd probably go with orange squash. Now, I know that's super boring, but after you've lived in America for the amount of time I have, and they don't do squash out there.
At all?
So you know those little squeezy bottles you have? You know, Kool-Aid ones. They've got that. They're terrible. It's not orange squash. It's not Robinson's, all right?
No.
So that's the one thing I really crave when I'm living in America is squash. And so I know that sounds insane, but if it was non-alcoholic, it'd be orange squash.
Okay.
And if it was alcoholic, probably amaretto and Coke.
Ooh.
I love an amaretto or a Passoa and lemonade.
Ooh.
I'm a very fruity kind of person. Yeah.
Good choices.
Thank
I
you.
approve.
Yes.
Finally. You passed.
Yeah.
Who are you listening to at the moment? Who would you recommend? Who's on your playlist? Start spouting some names.
Okay, let me go to my Spotify. I think this is a real test here. There is one song that I've been listening to on repeat, and it's not very country. It's very poppy cheesy, but it's very summery.
Okay.
And that's I'm adoring it. It's called Heating Up My Summer by Renee Blair.
Okay.
It looks like this.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not very country. It's more like
No.
poppy. But it's like stuck in my head all the time because it's so summery and it makes me happy. Another person is Kim Petras. Again, not a country artist. Like, she is like full on like diva pop.
Yeah.
But I adore Kim Petras. And obviously Dixie Chicks, as I said. I can't stop listening to them. And there's also, I don't know if you know Ben Grammer. Again, not country at all. This is going really well. I really like indulge in all kind of genres.
Yeah.
But, Ben, I think it's. Oh no, it's not. It's Andy Grammer, not Ben. It's because I'm thinking Ben Rector, Andy Grammer. I've mixed the two.
Nice.
So there's a song by Ben Rector called 30,000 Feet that he's written about a guy that's taken his first flight.
Okay.
Which is like his storytelling and his description